This week on Pit Stop with Don and James, Don prepares to climb a mountain. We reminisce about some of our favorite races and favorite moments of the season so far. And we give our thoughts and insights on the Formula One movie.
Welcome to Pit Stop with Don and James. I'm Don.
I'm James.
How's it going, James?
Yeah, man, not too bad. A little sad since there is no race this week. They are on summer break and it's breaking my heart.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Got the summer blues. Yeah.
The summer blues, that's right.
Yep, we're in the off weeks here, which is all right. Give us a chance to recap stuff and talk about other hot goss.
Yeah, man. How are you coping with no races?
Yeah, it's all right. I think I'll be fine. I always have stuff to do. I'll be going to the gym, going to maybe do a little bit of hiking up here. The weather turned a lot cooler in Salt Lake area, so I'm thinking about trying to hit a hike later today.
Nice. Well, that makes one of us. We are still cruising at, I think yesterday was 115. I think it's going to be I think it's slightly cooler. Only going to be like 108 today.
Oh,
maybe
man.
107.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. Yeah, we had a weekend of significantly lower temperatures, like in the lower 80s. Feels really awesome here. And so up in the mountains, it'll be even cooler than that. So thinking about heading up there. Got to get in shape. I'm thinking about doing that mountain again, maybe next month. Got a work friend that has some interest in coming out this way and hiking it with me. So looking at that.
Yeah, cool, man. That'll be I say that'll be a good time, but I have no interest in hiking a mountain. So, but more power to you.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. It's like a physical drain, but you go up there and there's a sense of accomplishment. It's a lot of natural beauty as well. So I enjoy doing it. I like pushing myself that way. I find some joy in it. Some misery as well.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, since it's a bye week, how about we talk about some of our favorite moments from this season? Do you want to kick us off with one of your favorites?
Yeah. I'm going to start with not my number one favorite because I have a clear favorite. And if you end up bringing up that clear favorite, then I'll just agree with you. But yeah, I'm going to start with a couple of things. One thing that I really liked this year starts with a not so great thing. So it was Hadjar spinning out in round one in Australia. So if we remember all the way back to the beginning of this season, it was raining in Australia, and before the race even started, Hadjar spun out and crashed out, which was a not a great thing, an inauspicious thing. But what I did find as one of my favorite things is that the very next race he got back on it, was P11 in round two in China, and then in the third round, so Japan, he scored his first points ever. So a rookie going from a complete disaster in round one to scoring his first points 2 races later was a great moment for me. That was one of the things that I wanted to highlight. And he has had a great rookie season. A little drop off here over the last couple of races, but again, that doesn't mean that's where he's going to stay. I think he definitely has that capability to keep his performance back up, because he really was consistent from race 2 on until maybe the round 8 or 9, when he kind of dropped off and maybe wasn't scoring points. So the Hadjar story has been a good one for me.
Yeah, man, Hadjar has been absolutely crushing it, at least recently. Yeah, I still think they should have given him the Red Bull seat, or there's still another half season to go. So
yeah,
anything can happen at Red Bull. I know they say they're going to keep Yuki, but That doesn't really mean anything over at Red Bull. They change their minds all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, we'll see what happens with Hadjar. He's a good story for the rookies, I think, and that little bit of redemption was one of the reasons why I picked that one. What do you got? What's one of yours?
Yeah, man. It's funny that you bring up Australia because Australia is probably the number one race that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Just only because how chaotic it was, especially for the very first Grand Prix. I mean, the first Grand Prix are always kind of a little touch and go, but I have to highlight my boy, Alex Albon in a Williams, coming in fifth, followed by Lance Stroll in sixth and Nico Hulkenberg in seventh.
Yeah.
Sort of the holy trinity of, drivers you wouldn't expect to be that high at an opening race. So
the holy trinity.
But yeah. But I mean, taking out all the drivers that crashed, they still put in a really good effort, right? That everybody drove a fantastic race that finished. It was chaotic. Not only are you trying to manage the rain, but you're also dodging cars that are falling out in front of you left and right. So absolute chaos. But no, I think it would set up a really good path for Williams this year. They started off strong, albeit signs spun out under yellow, which is a little embarrassing. But they sort of found their own. Coming into the last few races, they kind of dipped a little bit, but they're making a strong comeback. So I'm really happy where Williams is, and they started off strong. So that would be my go-to.
Yeah, that you brought up one of my other notes for a favorite moment was,
side spinning.
Well, no, Hulkenberg taking a P7 in that race and outscoring all of last year's Sauber team, right? So,
which was only 6 points.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of points, but they just I think Zhou had got one 4-point finish one time or something last year, and then in the very first race of the year, Hulkenberg outscores all of Sauber last year, and then who could not mention the just general success this year that Sauber has had comparatively to where they've been for a long time now, and that the recent string, including Bortoletto's recent success, is another one that we definitely should talk about as favorite moments. He's really slingshotted. At the beginning of this year, I have said, Bortoletto has looked not very impressive when like Hadjar was doing super well and Bortoletto was down there. And I don't necessarily remember blaming it on Bortoletto. It was more that we don't expect much out of the Sauber car, and now he's scored in a couple of races and looked quite good, making some nice moves. So yeah, Bortoletto's recent success is another one that I think we should take note of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the last 4 races, he scored points 3 times. He had a DNF over at Great Britain, which was very unfortunate. But I mean, Austria, Belgium, and Hungary points. I can't wait to see what happens after the summer break. I hope they continue on strong.
I feel like we should probably one of these days, or I should do this. Go try to read up more news about Sauber and see what it is that they did to change from where they were to where they are now, because really they've had a huge jump in success and performance. So I haven't looked, I haven't listened to anybody talking about it. I haven't heard if Mattia Binotto's doing anything different there, or they have thrown in upgrades or anything. They just don't get the coverage because of them being sort of a back of the grid team.
Yeah. It's weird to see for sure, especially because now they're not at the very bottom, which last year they only finished with 4 points, which Zhou got at Qatar and came in dead last. But now they are sitting in a firm, I say firm, but they're in P7 at the moment, which isn't bad. They're only 1 point behind Aston Martin, which, I think they can make up, especially coming into the last half of the season, unless Aston Martin have finally decided to throw Adrian Newey a little bit at this year's car instead of just having him focus on next year's.
Yeah, I don't know. But we have seen some inconsistency from Aston. I guess maybe that's another thing we can talk about. I had made a note here. This is another thing since we transition here onto Aston Martin. Alonso had a really poor start to the season, and
yeah, 2 DNFs.
It was not until Spain. Did I get that right? Spain, where he scored his first points.
Yeah,
and then he scored 4 points finishes in a row, and 5 of the last 6 races is what I noted. So, he got points. So yeah,
he had a very strong P5 in Hungary, which was pleasantly surprising. It's always nice when Alonso does well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that was another one that I took note of. Just a surprising start where he was getting, or Alonso was getting kind of shown up by Lance Stroll.
Yeah,
who unfortunately Lance Stroll, he's the butt of a lot of jokes, not just from us, but I see him all the time on social media. It's probably mostly undeserving. I mean, he's had a couple of boneheaded things, but I think almost everybody has. He just, for some reason, I think maybe people come after him because of the sort of blatant nepotism that's going on there with his dad financing his team. But I think he made it up to Formula One, not necessarily with his dad as the owner, right? He was financing him, helping him out, but he wasn't the owner of his team until Lawrence Stroll bought what was, I guess at the time, Racing Point.
That's right.
But yeah, Lance Stroll kind of had a surprising success at the beginning of the year. I mean, it's relative success. It's not. They weren't blowing the doors off of anybody, but the fact that he was where he was in the top 10 for a while. I don't know if is he still there? I didn't check the standings. Where is Lance?
Lance Stroll and his teammate are both tied at 26 points, running with Fernando at 11th, and he is down in 12th.
Oh, okay. So they're dropped out of the top 10, but it seems like he could get in there.
Yeah, well, Stroll started off with 2 top 10 finishes. Australia he was 6th, and then China he was 9th. And then he just kind of fell off and was running at the back. It's only been since Great Britain that he was back in the points. So
yeah. Yep. Well, we'll see. I think what looked for me like a kind of a bit of a bust of a season for Aston, I think they're scraping together some points. It's, I don't remember where they're sitting in the championship, but I think they're quite better than Alpine.
Right.
Who's in dead last, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can share one of my other favorite races, and I think it would just be the Chinese Grand Prix, because that was also a very chaotic race. If you can remember, Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc all got technical infringements and were subsequently disqualified from the race, which is, very upsetting, right? But also, it was sort of a mixed bag because Liam Lawson, who was still at Red Bull Racing at that time, finished 12th. And Yuki Tsunoda was all the way down in 16th, and they still decided to give Yuki Tsunoda the drive in the following race after that, which I found a little bizarre. Wasn't totally surprised, though. And then we also had Jack Doohan, who had a 10-second penalty, and he still finished 13th. So not exactly terrible. I don't know that Jack Doohan was rightfully sacked. He had, all things considered, I think he was doing okay. I think he would have improved. I think what really did him in was his shunt at Japan, where he tried to take turn 1 with the DRS still open.
Oh, right.
Right, which nobody's doing. But I mean, if you're the first guy to try something, the first guy through the wall is always going to get bloody, right? So, kind of a bold move. Ended up being a stupid move, unfortunately, but I think he would have improved. I think Jack Doohan deserves a better chance. But yeah, race in China was just a chaotic one, man. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, just to say. And Albon, another top 10 finish, coming in 7th. So super strong start.
Nice. Yeah, China was good, and shocking, of course, with the disqualifications of the two Ferraris. Especially a bummer because Lewis Hamilton won the sprint race there, and that was sort of the highlight for
Right.
Lewis Hamilton. And that was another one of my notes for favorite moments. I mean, round 2, Hamilton winning a sprint was looking like, okay, Hamilton's back.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I remember at the time feeling super excited about that, but it really hasn't panned out. And now my tune has changed. You know, I think it has almost hit rock bottom with Lewis coming on in an interview there saying they should find another driver. I mean, you just don't hear Formula One guys talking like that. I could never imagine Max saying something like that. You'd be like, get rid of this car, but not.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
and he almost finished 7 seconds over Piastri. So not like he had a strong car and super strong pace. It just unfortunate with the disqualifications, man. Yep. Totally ruined his flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm still waiting for Lewis to be back. I think he's still got some time in him. That's my hope. I hate seeing guys who are great fade off. And I hope that that's not what we're seeing with Lewis. But you know, there's rumor, I think, swirling with Lewis, and there's open seats, I think, all over the grid. Yeah. So if he doesn't have a better second half to the season, it'll be interesting to see what he decides. Now, I think we've talked about it a couple of times here. Ferrari is still sitting in this pretty strong second place in the constructors, and which is interesting because they're not in the top 3 for the drivers.
No,
but they're in P5 and P6. But you know, what is he? Lewis is 42 points back of Leclerc in Leclerc is in P5, sitting on 151. Lewis is at P6, 109. So, yeah, he could make up some ground and do better than this. But yeah, we got to see. Let's hopefully he can, pull off some of the wily stuff that Sonny Hayes pulled off in the Formula One movie.
Yeah.
And then work some magic. Of course, we're seeing that the Ferrari team, the pit wall, is not necessarily doing a lot of listening to their drivers. Sort of classic Ferrari mentality.
Right.
Maybe that's working against Lewis just as much as it's working against Leclerc.
Yeah. Well, Leclerc had that novel last time out, so I think it was you that sent me. Somebody queued it up like the Star Wars intro. We just had it scrolling up and had the dramatic music behind it. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good. I got a kick out of
that. Any other moments that you wanna touch on?
Yeah. I want to mention Verstappen won at Imola. And I think that was his last win that he's gotten so far. So that was pretty early on. And he hasn't really been super in contention for wins since then. I mean, I think he's had a couple podiums, but not really challenging for the win. So, yeah, it's more of a thing to note that Red Bull has really dropped off later in this around this midpoint of this season. They aren't quite as they're not quite as on their game. So that's a thing to take note of more than anything. Of course, what we saw with Red Bull has been nothing short of drama this year, right? We had, like you mentioned earlier, Liam Lawson getting booted from Red Bull and sent down to Racing Bulls after just 2 races. Yuki has come in and done very little as far as points, and therefore speculation has been rampant about whether he's going to make it to the end of the season. And what they want to do with their other seat. Max Verstappen, even the rumors flying that he's going to sign somewhere else, including possibly at a rival Mercedes. And then of course a few races ago, they dumped their longtime, really only ever team principal in Christian Horner, who's a fixture in this sport for the last 20 years. And so it's just been tumultuous at Red Bull, kind of shocking stuff. And so for them to, I think the race after Christian was fired, Max got a P2, if I'm not mistaken, which was a great result. And but then, like, other than that, that's the best that they've done, I think, since Christian Horner was let go. So yeah, the Verstappen win at Imola, just more of a note it. Let's wait to see how long it is before we see him again up on the top step.
Fair enough. That's a pretty good one. I've kind of touched on all my favorites. My last one would probably be just George Russell taking the win in Canada. I mean, Mercedes was just so stinking dominant that whole weekend. I mean, Kimi Antonelli ended up with the P3. I think that's the highest that he has finished all season, if I'm remembering that correctly. But it's also George Russell's only win this season as well. George Russell, of course, currently sitting in fourth in the standings. He's had a few P3s and I think only one P2 in Bahrain. But man, coming at the top step of Canada being one of my all-time favorite races, put in a huge effort, despite, Lando Norris, Liam Lawson, and sadly Alex Albon having a DNF. Norris causing a collision with his teammate Piastri. Oh man, what drama, right?
Yeah, for sure,
absolute drama. And then more than half the field was lapped as well. So sort of a chaotic race, especially for having a yellow flag. Still more than half the field being lapped. But yeah, I'm super happy for George. Definitely a highlight of the season for sure.
Yeah, man, that's a great one. That race with George winning, made me question the move that Lewis made to Ferrari.
Right.
Like, this car is still capable of competing. The Mercedes is. It seems to be the consensus seems to be that the Mercedes does better in cooler weather, which they had in Montreal. So, but yeah, they the crash between Lando when Lando ran into the back of Piastri was a bit of good foreshadowing, right, for the battle that's taking shape now between Lando and Oscar. Two good people. There's not a lot of outward animosity between those two. They seem to get on pretty well, but they, in the end, it's a competition to win this thing, and we are seeing something shape up here. So I think it's going to be very fun to watch down the end of this season to see who ends up getting that win. It's very tight. I think 9 points between first and second place, with Oscar in the lead. I got my OP 81 new shirt that I got, jersey. So I am kind of rooting for Oscar, but it's one of those things where it's like, no matter who wins, I can't be upset. Like, they both are doing a great job, both surprising me. Lando got a home win in Silverstone this year. That was another great one that I wanted to mention. A great result there, with kind of an unfortunate incident for Oscar, one that we'll probably talk about for years, where he got rung up by the FIA for braking under the safety car, kind of driving erratically, I think. So that was kind of one of those things where, if you were to go out and look at all the opinions online, you'd see probably a good 50-50 split of people who thought, yeah, he deserved it, and others who were like, that was bogus, So, yeah, really interesting. But I will say, my number one, far and away, favorite moment of this year so far, I don't know that anything's going to top it, was Hulkenberg pulling his first ever podium at Silverstone. For me, that was, I just don't know how we beat that. And it would be one thing, I mean, for a Sauber to get a podium, I mean, that in and of itself was an amazing feat, but it was his first podium after 238 races with no podium. He had 3 P4 finishes going into that race. So P4 just off of the podium 3 times. And he did one time win the 24 Hours of Le Mans as well during that period of time. He's been in and out of Formula One a couple of times with various teams. He's been around a long time. He's one of the older guys out there, and it was, to me, that was amazing. I got a tear in my eye when he took that podium for the first time. I mean, he just seems like a solid person. And you would have to have immense patience and love of this sport to go that long just on the edge of greatness, in middling cars, and then he takes podium. He goes into the cool down room, doesn't even know what he's supposed to do in there. Somebody has to bring him his helmet, and he's like, "What are we in here for? What do I do? Why do I need that helmet?" Anyway, it was great, and that one for me is going to be really hard to beat this year. Well, I mean, we're teeing up for some great battles coming down to the end of this year. So maybe something bumps that off, but for me, that was the clear best moment of the year.
Nice, man. Yeah, a lot of great moments in the first half. Like I said, we're on the back half of the season, just out on the summer break. We're coming up to the Netherlands, Zandvoort. Awesome track, which I'm really looking forward to. And I can't wait to see how everything else continues to unfold, especially kind of midfield, where everybody's only separated by a point or two in the standings. I mean, like I said, we have both Aston Martins that are the same, but just ahead of them in P10 is Esteban Ocon, and he's only got 27 points, so just 1 point ahead of him. So it's really all to play for right there. I'm really hoping Alex Albon can stay in the top 10, and I'm really hoping Carlos Sainz can find some wiggle room, man. He's really got a lot to make up. He's all the way down in P16 at the moment, but, it's all to play for. So I think he could still manage to come in the top 10 and especially move the Williams up. They're currently in P5. I don't know that they'll catch Racing Bulls because they have more than triple the points on them. So it's going to be tough. More than triple? Do they have triple? No, almost triple.
I think Williams is in P5.
They're in P5 and Red Bull 70. Red Bull Racing, that's what it is. They have 194 points, so almost triple the amount of points.
Right. They got a pretty decent grip on P5, I think. Because they're 18 points ahead of Aston Martin, who is not looking very.
They're not consistent enough, right?
Right. Yeah. And even them, this is a very interesting one, right? So P6 is Aston Martin, but P7 is Kick Sauber, and they are 1 point behind P6. I mean, if they steal P6, I mean, right now, if you're a Williams fan and you have Aston at 52 and you're behind you at 52, but 1 point behind them is Sauber. I mean, who are you feeling more threatened by right now, Aston or Sauber?
Probably both of them, man. They're right on the heels.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a little scared of Sauber myself with the string of success that they've had. I mean, I'm kind of overblowing it. I think maybe some of the unexpectedness of it is making it seem more dramatic than it really is. With Fernando kind of coming alive later in the season, that would be a little bit spooky having him coming up on you.
I did see something interesting from James Voles, who's the head of Williams. Either saw it yesterday or the day before, but he just came out and said that the car that they have now is the car that they're going to have till the end of the season, and all efforts have shifted to the 2026. So
no upgrades.
No more upgrades. This is it. This is their car. So if Aston Martin and Sauber continue to bring upgrades this year, they may very well lose their position where they're currently standing at in fifth. So it's going to be interesting to see how that'll play out. But I am looking forward to 2026 because 2026, all new regulations, everybody's on a clean slate. It's going to see who can make the most out of the regs next year and who can find the most loopholes. And I'm really hoping Williams can make something of it. James Voles, I think he's done a great job. I think he's going to continue to do a great job in leading the team and pushing them forward.
Yeah, definitely a storyline to watch. That'll be interesting if they're not going to upgrade their car to see how they fare down the second half of the season. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I know you mentioned Sunny Hayes. I think I should mention I finally saw the F1 movie months after its release.
All right, what were your overall impressions?
My overall impression is that I liked the movie. I thought it was good. I thought the cinematography was exceptional. Even the parts where I'm pretty sure it was AI, you couldn't even really tell that it was, CGI or however you want to phrase it these days. The action shots were just absolutely perfection. And the whole time I was sitting there watching it, I was just thinking like, man, I wish we had these shots during the actual race because the cinematography is so cool looking. If they can incorporate some of those camera angles into the actual racing, I think it'll step up the audience significantly. And then for the story was just enough to keep it moving along. It's obviously highly fictionalized. Something like that couldn't ever happen in an actual F1 race, let alone a full season. A team coming from all the way in the back to all the way up front within, I think it's 5 races that they do it in. That's just totally unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we should give give our listeners a little bit of spoiler alert in case they haven't seen it. But yeah, it was my impression was almost exactly the same as yours. Like I enjoyed it. I would watch it again. I would. Yeah. I went into it wanting to see great action shots of the actual racing, shot with like high def camera work and really good audio. And if you want that, you will get that. It is very cool. You get good shots of the tracks. They filmed it on real tracks with real cars, and so definitely worth watching just for that. And like you said, the story was average, story. The acting was good enough. It wasn't a Oscar worthy performance by anybody or anything. It was, but it was good. It was, there was a lot of unrealistic stuff. I think the casual fan of Formula One or the non-fan of Formula One will not pick up on a lot of things. But the premise of the whole movie is a guy who's way older than anybody on the Formula One grid at the moment, right? Coming back to help out a team to try to make something of a fledgling team, a new team that hasn't figured out how to score points and stuff. And so he comes back and uses a lot of racecraft to try to help them to improve. And so I don't know. It was a lot of unrealistic stuff that happened in it. But I think you'd have to be somewhat of a racing fan to realize that it was that. That it was that unrealistic, right? So I think it is a good recruiting thing to get more fans to Formula One too. So anyway, so you were going to say something?
Yeah, no. Something I thought was kind of nice that they did. As a hardcore F1 and racing fan, there's things I can pick apart at it, but something I thought that was really nice that they did was that if ever, like when the announcers were talking during the racing and there was maybe an acronym or something, they would explain what that was and how it was. So it kind of helped, the non, spectator individual be able to better understand and follow it. For instance, like my wife, she's not super into F1. She'll watch it with me every now and then, but it was some of the background shots where they were like doing the testing of the vehicle in the wind tunnel, and you could see, they had all the screens with all the reports of how the air was moving around the car. She thought that was really cool. I thought that was really cool, but she also didn't realize that, when they are away at a race, there's also a whole team in a room back at their HQ that's also monitoring everything. So I thought that was kind of a cool background shot for everybody.
Yeah, that was good, and that was another major plot line that I think that they kind of got right. I think, for maybe those who don't know, Lewis Hamilton was highly involved in the making of this movie. He was a producer, and I think he probably had something to do with the financing of it, but I think he was also consulting them on trying to make it as realistic as it could be. And so one of the big storylines was that the team engineer stumbled upon a way to improve the performance of their car. It was kind of like a light switch thing where, like, if you use this, you're getting a maximum amount of out of your car through the turns or whatever it was. And then I think it got protested or whatever, right? By the other teams or something. And
right.
They weren't allowed to use it, and it was a big point of drama. And that actually happens. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say that it's usually as dramatic as that, where some one little upgrade or tweak takes you from last place to first. But that kind of stuff happens. In fact, I was just watching an episode. My wife is getting increasingly into Formula One, and I don't know that it has anything to do with this podcast, but she is. She's been, watching Drive to Survive, and like this was from, like, I want to say like the 2020 season when the pandemic happened, and I don't know if you remember this, but Mercedes got they had a I'm trying to remember the acronym for that, but it was the one where their steering wheel, that like it kind of comes, the driver could pull it in.
The DAS.
Yeah, right. Yes. So I kept wanting to say DRS, and I'm like, I know that's not, because the DRS is something else. But I was like, what is that? Okay, so they were doing a whole episode where they were talking about that, and how Christian Horner had gone to he went and took a complaint to the FIA, which was sort of one of his bread and butter things, is being able to go complain to the FIA. But yeah, that was when I was watching that, I was like, oh yeah, this is a plot line kind of in the Formula One movie, kind of putting two and two together there. So, but yeah, it's it's worth a watch. I will say, I went and watched it in Cinemark XD, which is like their higher quality, and I sat in a D box. D box is like almost like it's like a interactive seat, so you've got some speakers and a rumble device and like a little bit of motion in the chair, so like in the action sequences you're kind of like getting rumbled, and like I would say it was worth it to pay the little bit extra for that experience. I've heard people, I saw some reviews online who saw it in IMAX, so Formula One is a very sensory experience, right? So a lot of sound and visual. So paying a little extra to go see it in a little bit higher quality movie theater, I think is worth it for people who are wondering about how to see this flick.
Yeah, that's definitely different than my experience, because the F1 movie has been out for quite some time. They moved it to a smaller theater when I went to go see it, and by smaller, I think there was maybe only 50 seats or something in that ballpark of it. And it just did not do the movie justice. Like, it was almost watching it at home in my living room or thereabouts, because we were all the way in the back. So, yeah, I think if I were to see it again, I would have to go find it on the bigger screen somewhere.
Yeah, it was one of those where before the movie ever came out, I was like, I really want to make sure I see this in a like, I don't ever do that. I like movies. We go to a lot of movies, but I rarely pay to go see it in a special, HD, like IMAX or anything like that. In fact, I don't even know that I've been to an IMAX movie, but I was either going to do this one in IMAX. I settled for Cinemark XD because it was at our local Cinemark theater, and got the D-Box experience. And yeah, I think it was worth it. Now, some people have really good sound systems at home. I bet you could, if you got a nice sound system and a decent HD screen at home, you could probably have a really good experience at home too. But But there's nothing like going to the movies, if you ask me.
Yeah, same. Something else though that I think that the movie did a really good job was showing women in F1, which has been sort of a topic for a long time, and something that I'm pretty sure this is where Lewis Hamilton probably put the most input in, besides showing off his dog at the opening, would be because there is a female worker on the pit crew, which we are seeing more and more women come into the pit crews as well. And so that's kind of a nice little storyline, but also the key engineer, the principal engineer for the team is a female, which I think is really cool. Of course, I think probably the most notable female that's actually in F1 at the moment would probably be Hannah Schmidt, who's the lead strategist for Red Bull. She's been there for quite some time, and she's been absolutely crushing it at her job. So I think this is a really cool way to, I don't know, get more women in STEM, get more women in F1. You know, I think it's a really good opportunity for everybody, and I've got nothing against more women coming into the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it I have been impressed with the concerted effort by Formula One and their on all the teams to have women involved. It's kind of a shame that we even have to have a discussion like this and make a special point of pointing it out. It really shouldn't be that way. But yeah, there's I think I can't remember her name. There's another. I don't remember if she's an engineer or strategist that is for working for Haas, I want to say, that they show frequently on the broadcasts. Of course, Ruth Buscom, a former strategist. I can't remember which team she was on, but she's an analyst that they talk to all the time, and she's very good on the F1 broadcast. Yeah, I mean, and then Susie Wolf is heading up the Formula One Academy to build up women drivers. I mean, they got to do something, because I'm sure that there are women who can compete in this sport, but they need to. It is somebody needs to make the investment, and I think F1 is doing a fairly good job of that, and I think they can do more, and they hopefully will. But yeah, kudos to them for displaying it on a popular movie, because those types of things in the culture have to be there to give girls and women the sense of belief in themselves, because they can do it. There's no reason why they cannot do this, other than ridiculous stereotypes that we have in culture worldwide. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think you
good
might
point.
be thinking of Laura Mueller.
Yeah, Laura
I think that's how you
Mueller.
say it.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah, at Haas.
Yeah.
Which she is the race engineer for Esteban Ocon, if I'm
Yeah.
remembering correctly.
Yep.
And
That's
I think they
exactly
also have a head strategist that's a female, Corinne. I'm probably totally screwing up her name, but she, I've got nothing against it. I think women can make a really big difference in F1. If there's one thing I've learned being married to my wife, is women are definitely better planners. So I think being a strategist is probably right up their alley. If my wife was going to be an F1, that's probably what she would end up doing.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool, man. I will point one last thing out about the movie, and this is just kind of a bit of a tangent, but we had a text thread going the other day about this. I was going over to the gym, and I was trying to find something to watch while I was on the treadmill, and I came across the old 1966 movie Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It has James Garner in it, and speaking of awesome women, it has Jessica Walter in it, who people might know as Lucille Bluth. She was much younger, of course, in 1966, and she's not with us anymore. She passed away recently. But yeah, she was a great character on Arrested Development. And then, but anyway, this movie, I have to say there was some parallels. I don't know if you felt like this, but I felt like there were some parallels. Like they took a lot of ideas from that movie Grand Prix. For one, if you want to see, again, great cinematography of old F1 cars. These are the old ones. They look just like kind of like a lipstick case with wheels, open wheels. There's great cinematography driving. I mean, they take you through the Monaco circuit almost a whole lap with like really cool camera work from the cars. I almost have to believe that it was innovative in its day what they did. I didn't read that, but I was like, man, this had to have been one of the things that led to cameras being on Formula One cars during the race, you know. But yeah, that, I mean, really cool shots of old Monaco, old Spa, um, several other tracks as well. And then, so if you want to see old cars, and they were loud and they were fast and they were not safe cars, um, uh, go check that out. And there was old, they used, so some of the similarities that I saw, right? So the camera work and the way that they did some of the shots like that, they had real drivers, you know, like Graham Hill was driving on that movie set, as well as some of the people that we talked about. And, you know, we were doing some of our recap of like, old drivers that never won, you know, the title or stuff like that, you know, like, some of those drivers were the drivers for the movie. And then there was similar stuff like in the F1 movie, Sonny Hayes, the old driver, comes back to help out a team after he had a crash. I mean, that's what happened in Grand Prix, right? Like the movie kind of begins with James Garner. He crashes in Monaco, ends up in the Mediterranean Sea, and then a Japanese, you know, he's like a financier, wants to have a team, wants another driver to help his team out. So he comes and gets him after he's kind of away from the sport a little bit, brings him back in. There's off-track drama that's going on, and so it was cool. And there was even stuff like, you know, they did a shot in Grand Prix where they were having like a drivers meeting where they were talking about what to do at Spa if it rains. I mean, that kind of stuff, like where I felt like they tried to incorporate some of that real life part of the sport in there. So anyway, I thought it was good. I didn't watch the whole thing. I was just like watching it while I was jogging on a treadmill. So I got through about half the movie. So I need to go back and watch that. But I just picked up on some of these you know, some of these similarities, I guess. It seemed obvious to me that when they made the F1 movie, they were borrowing from that old classic.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. The other movie that came to my mind was the Steve McQueen movie Le Mans. Almost sort of a similar thing, you know, where a driver's got to come in and he's got to, you know, do what he does at the team and try and help him win and things like that. So that's kind of like a very abridged version of Le Mans. Le Mans also a great classic racing movie at Le Mans. Yeah, it's a good one. I've seen that movie more times than I can count, quite honestly. But yeah, overall, I love the movie. I thought the F1 movie was a great movie. I can't wait to buy it and own it.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Well, people should go out and watch it. It's another good kind of like, I think, wasn't the guy that directed it, was he the same guy that did the Top Gun Maverick movie?
Maybe. I've got no idea. I'm not really good at directors like that.
I know your dad said that he compared this to Top Gun, but with racing cars. Back in the day, Top Gun, when it came out in the 80s, 1986 or whatever it was, with Tom Cruise, it was actually a huge recruiting tool for the Air Force and the Navy to get aviators. Kids watched it.
Oh, is that right?
And then they wanted to become fighter pilots, you know. I was among those. For the longest time, I thought that's what I would do. Kind of still regret that I never tried it. But yeah, I think these movies, sometimes they do that, right? Like they get people interested in the sport. I mean, we know Drive to Survive, which is a documentary, of course, has been huge for the popularity of Formula One in the United States. And I think this is just adding to that kind of that genre that's going to continue to explode it, because Formula One is not only an action-packed racing series, it's worldwide. You get that, you know, kind of like, I don't know, like you know, Mission Impossible or the Bourne movies where they're all over the world, you know, like there's that, I don't know, people call it travel porn. You know, you get that all over the world stuff, and then you get the science. There's just tons of science technology behind it, and so it's a cross section or a crossbreeding of many different cool things that this sport has to offer. So
yeah, you know what's crazy to think about is Drive to Survive came out in 2019, under COVID, of course, but it's going to be interesting to see in like 15 years or so the drivers that have come in to either F1 or IndyCar or somewhere along those lines that Drive to Survive was their inspiration.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be, especially with all the technological advancements. I know Scott Dixon was recently talking about on a podcast Scott Dixon is an IndyCar driver. He was talking about how, it's just a different breed of class of the kids that are coming in because they've had simulators since they were a kid. And now you don't have to go to a track and go test, and that's like a 1-day event. You can sit in a simulator all day, every day if you really want to. And he's like, it's just a different breed of kids that are coming into the sport.
Well, and sim racing has become a thing, right? Like, I mean, we know that even Max Verstappen and I think some of the other racing drivers, they do sim races, which are like their actual online competitions, people racing. Well, and I mean, that's another great racing movie too, right? Gran Turismo. I mean, great, maybe the wrong word. It's another good one.
I've never seen it.
The very thing you're talking about, where they tried an experiment where an actual racing team tried to bring in kids who had who were just good video game players basically, and see if they could drive in a real car. And they produced 1 or 2 decent racers out of that. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, based on real events, right?
Yep.
Like there have been teams that have taken drivers that have only ever done sim and put them in a car, and they've done decently. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see in the next decade or so what's going to happen and who's going to come up.
Absolutely.
Before we log off here, speaking about up and coming, I do want to point out that there's still 8 seats open for the 2026 grid. Cadillac hasn't announced anybody. Racing Bulls hasn't announced anybody. And surprisingly, Mercedes has not announced anybody. So I'm still keeping my ear to the ground, especially since we are coming into the last half of the season. There's only a handful of races left, and they need to start picking somebody. So I can't wait to see who they're going to put. I'm expecting Mercedes will keep George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, unless Verstappen's exit clause is somehow triggered. I think Mercedes will keep their drivers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the most likely scenario, although a part of me has a fantasy that Lewis will go back. It was definitely a bromance between Toto Wolff and Lewis Hamilton. They would have so much success together. There wasn't animosity or bitterness in the departure of Lewis to Ferrari. Toto was a class act about that. I think Lewis pretty much was as well. He wasn't. He never said a bad word about Mercedes. He was just trying to make something happen because it was slow to happen in the last couple of years at Mercedes. And seeing that they have a race-winning car at Mercedes,
yeah,
I could see him going back. And I think a lot of fans would be jacked about that. They'd be happy. So,
yeah, fair enough. Well, sounds good, man. Well, thank you for joining me this morning. I always appreciate your insights. I think maybe I'll have to go rewatch the F1 movie in IMAX. You make it sound. What did you call it? It's not IMAX. It's
Well, I watched it in Cinemark XD. And
XD. That's what it is.
I mean, there's a good chance that it's no longer in it. They're not playing it in XD, but you could look around and see if you could find somewhere. If you can find someone doing IMAX or XD, I would give it a shot.
I might have to keep my ear to the ground and see if anybody's doing that, because it sounds significantly better than the experience I had.
I mean, any old movie theater is pretty good, better than probably most home theaters, but I did think it added to it, and the D-Box thing, which kind of is gimmicky, but it was, it moves you around. It's kind of like, you sit in one of those racing simulators, it moves you around a little bit.
Right.
So you get a little bit of that. I thought it was cool.
Fair enough, man. Well, In typical fashion, I'm going to say adios.
Adios.